What have we learned after week 14 in the NFL season? The Los Angeles Chargers had the 10th pick in the 2024 NFL draft. Where could they go? Draft storylines is coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout and senior draft analyst. And guys, I got to kick this intro over to my partner in crime, Keith Sanchez, Mr. LSU, over with those 2019 national champion LSU Tigers. You can find and follow him on X at The Talent Code. Keep talk to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? This is Keith Sanchez, 2019 national champ with those LSU Tigers, man. And what the other side to this dynamic duo that we like to call the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, man, where we talk everything college football. We talk everything NFL football. And like we like to say over here, it all starts with the NFL draft, man. Draft prospects, draft philosophy, draft strategies. We're talking it all in DP. Draft strategies. We are jumping into the Los Angeles Chargers, right? You have Justin Herbert, you have Khalil Mack, you have one of the Bosa brothers, DP. You have one of the most talented rosters, and still you can't win games, man. You have the 10th overall pick. And then we're getting into our classic segment, right, where we talk rookie report. We did have a Charger rookie that made a pretty big appearance, DP. We're going to talk about it. Then there's going to be a Coach K appearance. There's going to be a Coach DP appearance, man. We're jumping into the locker room, and we're handing out game balls. But DP, before we get that thing started, man, why don't you hit them with our title sponsor?
Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Per Tankathon, Keith, the Los Angeles Chargers. You talk about draft storylines. They had the 10th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft if it were to start today. This is a team that we expected better things from. Justin Herbert, like you said, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Asante Samuel Jr., right? You got, I forget the young left tackle's name. He's back healthy.
Rashawn
Slater. You know, Austin Eckler. You got all these different pieces.
Jamari Sawyer, Zion Johnson. Yeah.
It's so many, man. Like, there's no reason for this team to be where they are, Keith. So for me, when I'm talking about draft storylines, the Los Angeles Chargers, to me, have to figure out what direction they're going, how they want to rebuild this team or retool this team so they can get back to the playoffs. This is the team that was in the playoffs of 2023 after the 2022 season, right? First round against the Jaguars, had a multi-score lead, and they squandered it. They choked, right? Keith, I saw tweets already, you know what I mean, from some Chargers fans. Man, we in position for Brock Bowers. I'm like, all right. Okay, all right. That's what we're doing now. I don't know. Keith, is as fun as Madden is to play. You're trying to win real football games, and I love Brock Bowers. We both do. But is Brock Bowers really the pick if they were to draft at 10? Is that where they should go, or should they look at the defensive side of the ball, Keith?
I think it's tough, DP, and I'm gonna rewind this when we talk about the Los Angeles Chargers, San Diego Chargers. DP, if we're talking about the past 20 years, right? So I'm not going to take this version of the Chargers, right? Even the Phillip Rivers version of the Chargers, right? When it was Sean Merriman, Sean Phillips, Antonio Cromartie, Quentin Jammer, Lorenzo Neal, LT at the running back position, Vincent Jackson, I think. It seems that, like, if you look at the past 20 years, probably half of those years, the Chargers as an organization have had one of the better rosters, right? And so you take that, and then now you almost history repeats itself, and you have one of the same things. So you ask me, Keith, can they go after a Brock Bowers, right? I would almost say, why not? Because if you look at it in the trenches, DP, They're not bad, right? You have a Bosa brother, you have Khalil Mack, right? You have Sebastian Joseph Day, right? Now maybe the linebacker position on defense you can address, but then you look at the secondary, right? This is a secondary with Derwin James, your all-pro safety, right? And then you have Asante Samuel Jr., right? A guy that can consistently make plays. You have to feel comfortable with your secondary if you traded away J.C. Jackson during the middle of the season, right? So you have to feel comfortable with it. But if you tell me, you know what, we're not going to go any offensive skill position and we're going to go defense, it would be the interior defensive line, which we've been saying this time and time and time again. They refuse to address a DP. Or I'm looking at the linebacker position. Maybe you can afford to use a guy like a Jeremiah Trotter Jr., right? Someone like that, a signal caller, high IQ player, somebody, you can play the Mike backer position, because I know that Kenneth Murray has struggled some just picking things up and really understanding how to play the true Mike backer position. So this Chargers conversation, DP, it can go to so many different levels, right? Because there is so many layers to this. Now, you even get to, if we flip to the offensive side of the football, I want to ask you, are you comfortable with everything offensively? Like when you look at the offensive skill positions, right? With an aging Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston, right? Mike Williams, torn ACL. He was it just feels like those two players, DP, and I don't know why, and we talked about this on a call before. I just feel like every year, and I don't want to preface this by making this a negative comment about injuries, right? This is not a making fun of players or saying anything like that. I just feel like year in and year out, that combination is not healthy, right? Like the combination of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, somebody's injured at some point, right? You never get a full 16 or maybe even a full 12, right? Somebody's hurt, whether it's a hamstring, ankle, something like that. So I would maybe a weapon, right? Like I think they can go a weapon because of that combination. So that's where I'm kind of at. What I want to ask you, where you at with it?
Man, everything you said is facts, right? Like they've been a talented roster for 20 some odd years, you know what I mean? Through the Drew Brees time, through the Phillip Rivers time, now to Justin Herbert. And it's like, there's a monkey. You know how Steve Young said there was a monkey on his back?
We give the Green Bay Packers a lot of credit, right?
Yes,
for drafting quarterbacks. They've done a pretty good job. You go from Drew Brees to, you know what, we don't want Drew Brees anymore. We're going to draft Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers winds up to be a hit. When you're talking about a starting quarterback that consistently makes Pro Bowls, that's what Phillip Rivers
starting quarterback at that.
Yeah, right. And then you turn that into Justin Herbert for the next 10, 15 years. So they've done a good job at drafting.
Still struggle to win playoff games. Like, what is the problem here, man? Like, what's the? It's crazy, Keith, because Steve Young said, when he finally won the playoff game and all that after Joe Montana, he said, man, I got that monkey off my back. There's not a monkey on this organization's back. It's a full-blown gorilla at this point, right? It's fully grown and it's strong as ever. And for me, man, I just think about it. And even looking at the numbers, right? When you look at where they rank defensively, and the run game was actually surprising to me. They're middle of the pack. They allow 113 rush yards per game, right? So that's not bad, Keith. But this is where it flips, because now they're fourth most in the league in passing yards allowed. They've allowed over 3,400 passing yards on the season. They allow over 206. They allow 262 passing yards per game. So it's like, man, like what is going on here with this team, right? In terms of points, they only allow 21.7 points per game. So it's like, their defense is, like you said, the defensive line is good, especially against rushing the passer. They have some young linebackers. They drafted Diane Henley out of Washington State in the 2023 NFL draft. Got to see what he kind of turns out to be. But I'm not against the Brock Bowers pick at all, because I think that's the one positional offense they really truly need to upgrade. I know they got Gerald Everett and Darnell Parham, and they're solid options. But I understand the appeal of throwing Brock Bowers at tight end with Herbert, ascending Quentin Johnston, who we'll talk about in the second segment, right? Quentin Johnston, that toolsy big body receiver, healthy Keenan Allen, a healthy Josh Palmer, a healthy Mike Williams, and a healthy Justin Herbert. And you're like, man, this is good, right? But I do think that looking at a Nate Wiggins or Kool-Aid McKinstry should be on the board for them defensively.
All right, well, let's do that. DP, coming up next, man, what we're going to do is we're going to start the next segment off, continuing this conversation about the Los Angeles Chargers, because I do want to talk about the defensive prospects, if their secondary is that bad. But I also want to talk about Justin Herbert, the quarterback at Oregon, the quarterback early on in his career. And now Justin Herbert is a veteran. He's been in the league 3, 4, 5 years, right? So I want to have this conversation because all of this matters when you're talking about draft storylines, you're talking about moving this franchise forward. So coming up next, man, we're continuing this Justin Herbert, Los Angeles Chargers conversation.
Whenever the game clock stops, that's time to order in with DoorDash. Guys, I live in the Greenville County area of South Carolina, and after eating my pizza, my wings, my burgers, all the great things that you tap into during game day with your watch party favorites, a little dessert should be nice. It could be nice. And what other dessert would there be that's refreshing and delicious than cheesecake? So that's why I use DoorDash. I order in on DoorDash and get me and my family some cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory in Greenville, South Carolina. Guys, I'm telling you right now, to have that delicious dessert dropped off at your front door, it is amazing. Okay, you don't have to get up, you don't have to leave. You have to get up. You have to go to the door to grab the bag, right? That red bag with your food in it, and you can't beat that. So get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code LOCK23. We continue from the first segment, Keith. Defensive prospects. I said Kool-Aid McKinstry, Nate Wiggins, right? If you at top 10 and you need a cornerback, right? If you want to help stop the pass, because you got a pass rush, you just need to improve the cornerback situation a little more. Keith, I look at their team and I don't see a bona fide CB1. And Keith, that typically almost every defense has one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Typically you want to have it. Same way you want to have a wide receiver one, you want to have a CB one, and I don't see one on this team right now.
No, I don't think there is. And and don't get me wrong, Asante Samuel Jr. is a very good player, a really good player. I don't know if he's one of those quote unquote CB1s, but also you know that, right? Because that's why they tried to go get JC Jackson. They were aware of that. Now, the reasons why that didn't work out, that's between the general manager, JC Jackson, the head coach, the defenses coordinator, right? That part doesn't make any sense. I think they went the right move to try to get a CB1 and go all in, whatever it was, and why they traded them, and potentially they felt like they wasn't getting return on their investment. That's their situation. But you look at this cornerback class, DP, this is the part that's a little bit worrisome for me, because when we jump into this cornerback class, I think this cornerback class is talented. I don't think there's Derek Stingley, Christian Gonzalez, Sauce Gardner. I don't know if that's what's in this class right now, right? Like, I know you mentioned Nate Wiggins, which I like. I wouldn't put him on that pedestal right at this moment, right? Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terrion Arnold. There's plenty more corners, right? Bo Melton, is it Max Melton? I'm sorry, from Rutgers. There's a lot of good cornerbacks, DP. I'm just not sure if I'm putting them on that elite level, right, to where they can change or they can be able to take it, like you say, right, line them up man to man, and they can take away half of the field. I don't know if I see that portion, but safety class, right? When we talked about our guy from Minnesota, Tyler Nubin, could that be a good match? Somebody that can kind of mix and match, in the secondary with Derwin James, somebody that can probably play the roof if Derwin James walks down, and vice versa. They can kind of switch it up a little bit. Two versatile back-end defenders. And you've seen the Cincinnati Bengals, DP, they went back-to-back, right? Remember they drafted Daxton Hill, and then they followed that up with Jordan Battle, and now it's starting to pay dividends as Daxton Hill and Jordan Battle are making plays for that Cincinnati Bengal defense. So I wouldn't be beyond that either. But I want to talk about Justin Herbert, because Justin Herbert, the conversation, it's been ebbs and flows, right? Everybody hated Justin Herbert coming out of Oregon, right? He was supposed to be the bust. Then it was, he played well first 2 seasons, Hall of Fame, nobody's better than him, right? And I don't understand how the conversation shifts that crazy, but that's what the conversation was, right? And then now, I don't think people have opinions at all, one way or the other, right? So I want to ask you, DP, because you studied Justin Herbert coming out, you're watching him in the NFL. When we're talking about the Los Angeles Chargers, their draft storyline, what does he need, right? Like what is the best version of Justin Herbert? What weapons does he need to be the best version of himself?
Man, I think a consistent run game would be great for him, Keith.
That
You know what I
okay.
mean? I think that would be huge for him. I know that, nobody likes running the ball. They want to see the ball flying through the air 65 times a game. I get it. But having a run game where you can dictate coverage, dictate the numbers in the box, dictate the numbers in coverage, like when you can effectively run the football. Listen, we watch it over there in San Fran, man. You know what I mean? We watch it with Chris McCaffrey rushing for 145, 150 yards this weekend. Yes, Brock Purdy's life is a lot easier when you can play action, 5-step drop off of a bootleg, and there's nobody in sight in the backfield, right? You know what I mean? Because everybody's trying to stop McCaffrey first. They're trying to stop Deebo Samuel first. So I think it's a situation where just getting the run game consistently going for Justin Herbert could be big. And Keith, I know there's talks about Travion Henderson going back to college. I pray to God he does it. I don't want to see any running back that's that talented to go, especially when I think we talked about it with was it Quinn? Yeah, we talked about it with Quinn. Travion Henderson the last 2 years has battled some nagging little injuries, making him miss 2-3 games, 2 to 3 to maybe 4 games a season. You don't want to go back to college and then have that happen again. And then NFL teams is like, why would I spend a second round pick on you and I can't get you for 10 straight games, right? You know what I mean? So I say you come out into the draft while the iron is hot, but you think about adding him to that backfield, right? Not even just him, but if they're going to run, and it all depends on what happens with Kellen Moore and the OC and all, head coach, all that, maybe a Braylon Allen from Wisconsin, right? You know what I'm saying? You throw those guys in there, okay? Like you throw in a running back that can tote the rock, that where it's like, because when you're playing with Justin Herbert at quarterback, Keith, as a running back, if the offensive line does their job, you're not going to see a bunch of stacked fronts, right? Unless the receivers, unless everybody's hurt, and there's a situation you're like, I'm not afraid of anybody, right? But I think that's going to be the big thing, is just getting the run game going. And I mean, we talked about it in the first segment. A tight end, a legitimate tight end could do wonders for this offense if all the receivers are healthy, and you got a guy that can absolutely dominate the middle of the field. Like, man, you know what I'm saying? That changes things as well. So whether it was a Brock Bowers, right, you get him in the top 10, like we talked about in the first segment, and if you were able to double down in the third round and get you one of these running backs where you're like, you know what, man, now we're in the situation where we feel good about it, right? You know what I'm saying? Whether it's a Trey Benson, think about Marshawn Lloyd being this all about Audric Estime. Okay, like there's multiple backs in this class. It's not as highly touted as I thought it was going to be, because there's guys that stayed in school or into the transfer portal, but getting the run game going and the tight end, no, that'll be big for Justin Herbert, because now he can kind of attack everywhere and have some more advantageous coverage windows.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be a big free agency market also, right? You talk about Josh Jacobs potentially, Saquon Barkley, potentially. So, just find a balance, right? And that's for any quarterback. And that's why we see these quarterbacks instantly, right? Dak Prescott jumps in, right? Tony Romo gets hurt. He jumps in as a rookie. I think he was able to, did he lead the Cowboys to the playoffs, or they won a lot of games under Dak Prescott? But there was a run game, right? Brock Purdy, there's a run game. So maybe Justin Herbert, listen, everybody missed on a portion of thinking he was a bust and he had a bad personality and he's not a leader, right? But then you switch to being he's a Hall of Fame guy. Well, he still needs help, right? You talked about Steve Young, the monkey on your back. Guess what? Steve Young probably played with 10 or 12 Hall of Famers, right? Both offensively and defensively. So let's balance that thing out.
The Kansas City Chiefs, Keith, not to cut you off, the Kansas City Chiefs are reeling right now. We don't know what this team or offense is going to look like in 2024. They're reeling. There's opportunity if you build yourself up to get there.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And listen, what can't happen, right? And what's a non-negotiable is that the Denver Broncos gave up 70 points in week 3 to Miami Dolphins, and now they're 2 games ahead of you, right? That should not happen, point blank, period. They are the more talented roster. But man, we're gonna continue to build these rosters out. I like this draft storyline conversation. Real quick, DP, I know you're talking rookie report, right? Couple rookies you want to highlight. I know first we're gonna start with the Los Angeles Chargers, right? Quentin Johnston, DP. Finally emerges, right? 90+ yards, big time catch, explosive catch. I think he had a 55-yard catch. So emerges, right? So I wanted to cover him. And then I know there was another rookie you wanted to talk about, DP.
Yeah, just seeing Quentin Johnston track the ball on that, it was a 57-yard throw from Easton Stick, not even from Justin Herbert. Because you know what I'm saying? It was from Easton Stick from North Dakota State. Was it North Dakota State? Whichever school Trey Lance came from. I can't remember.
Yeah, North Dakota State.
North Dakota. Okay, it didn't sound right coming off the tip of my tongue. But yes, so Like, just seeing them get the ball to him, right? He caught 3 of his 4 targets for 91 yards. That's him. That's promising. He coming off a game where he had 57 yards receiving. So I think the arrow is trending upward, Keith. But also talking about rookie report, rookie report and showcasing and talking about what we saw on this past Sunday, man. Zay Flowers is becoming. It's just a problem for defenses. If you don't get to Lamar Jackson, you want to take away Odell Beckham because I think he's the true wide receiver one that teams want to try and take away, right?
Yep.
Like Zay Flowers, 6 targeted 10 times, caught 6 of them. So 6 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. The game-winning touchdown. Well, not the game-winning touchdown, but the touchdown that tied it to put them up, if I remember correctly, late in the 4th quarter, right? And that trust that Lamar Jackson, man, his stock is consistently going up, and I can't wait to see how he's able to fare these last 4 games heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, man, 2 more rookie receivers making appearances, right? Like trying to make high leverage plays, trying to emerge, right? And we know that that's always the toughest transition, right? For the rookies being able to jump right in and being able to play high level football, especially when there are expectations there, right? With both the Chargers and the Ravens to deliver with Coach K, man, we coming up next, man. We jumping into that locker room. We're passing out game balls for the top NFL performers that help their team win. And I'm going to have a quick conversation when I'm in the locker room with my guy.
Guys, you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. But if you wait till the last minute, you will worry and stress because at the last minute and moment, you're trying to compete with other buyers. You're trying to avoid dealing with scammers and scalpers. And you're trying to find the best deal. You want to talk about best deals? You need to check out Gametime. They are the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. What else do they offer, DP? Tell us the benefits. Well, guys, you get last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. Their tickets are easy to find and buy. And this is my favorite part. This is the best part to me. They show the views for all the seats in the venue. So before you purchase your tickets, you know what type of vantage point you will have. Guys, if you're an NBA fan, all right, listening to this football podcast, and you're in the Charlotte area of North Carolina, you can see Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram for the New Orleans Pelicans facing off with the Charlotte Hornets for as low as $7 on the Gametime app. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Coach K, who receives your Week 14 NFL game ball?
DP, I am going to Chi-Town, the Midway, right? I am going to Justin Fields. Round of applause, man. Round of applause, man, to pull out. First of all, it's probably the upset of the week. If you look at the Chicago Bears beating the Detroit Lions, right? A very talented Detroit Lions, a Chicago Bears team that everybody's more focused on draft picks than what they are even winning games at this point, right? Especially the fan base. But, man, just to get the win, right? And everybody's going to talk about, okay, how did he pass the ball? He was 19 of 33, 1 passing touchdown, right? But he also led the team in rushing with 12 carries for 58 yards. I hope, and that's why I said I'm going to give him the game ball, and I'm going to say, you know what, young man, you are prevailing through some incompetency that what I'm seeing, right? Because you're talking about a guy that has 12 rushes for 58 yards. Run him. Let him run the football and then allow him to make plays off of that with his legs. And like we consistently say, a la Jalen Hurts, a la Lamar Jackson, right? Something like that. We know that that's in there because we see it, DP. You see the talent is evident, right? And so I wanted to give credit to him, man, because listen, a lot of pressure, right? Everybody's talking about already. Bring Caleb Williams in town, right? Ship you out of town, and just to continue week in and week out, man, that's tough, man. It's cold outside, right? And I'm not talking about just cold on game days. It's cold Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You have to go out there. You have to practice. It looks like we're not making the playoffs at all, right? We know the coaches are probably going to get fired, right? General manager, that's up in the air, and then I don't even know if I'm going to be here. But you're still going to show up against a divisional opponent, man, the Detroit Lions, on a game you're supposed to lose, and then y'all win that game going away. So I want to give my game ball to quarterback from Chicago, Justin Fields.
Yeah, no, I love that, Keith. And like you said, he's fighting off a ghost that hasn't appeared yet. You know what I'm saying? He's fighting a ghost that's in college, and Caleb Williams and even Drake May. But I think, only thing I could tell Justin Fields is keep doing your thing, because one way or the other, like, you're going to prove to either this organization that you're the guy, or you're proving to another organization, those Atlanta Falcons, that you are the guy that they should make a trade for. For me, Keith, I'm going to Baltimore, man. Lamar Jackson, Keith. Lamar Jackson, he was 24-43 in a game that I didn't foresee. The conditions were terrible. It was cold. It was rainy. I did not foresee this being a shootout, right? Matthew Stafford out there balling out. Him, Cooper Kupp, Puka, Kyron Williams, all that stuff, Keith. And to go 24-43, 316 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, but also add 11 carries for 70 yards on the ground. And there were some just Lamar Jackson-esque plays, right? You have Aaron Donald bearing down on you. He's got his mitts locked into your jersey, and somehow you slip out of that. Somehow you juke a couple defenders in the backfield, and then you get out on the perimeter and get the first down. The things that he's able to do, I'm happy that they don't run him the way that Greg Roman was running him, right? That when he runs, it's calculated. It's it's a deserted effort. It's an informed effort. It's an informative decision. It's not a, hey, the only way we can be successful is if we QB zone read you, if we QB counter you, and we just let you get hit 20 times a game. No, he's showing that I'm a drop back. I'm going to make my plays. And then when you do try to blitz me and you get out of your rush lanes, then I'm going to make some things happen with my legs. And he did some outstanding things yesterday or this past weekend. And I'm just happy for him, man. I'm happy for him, Keith. And, just this team, like they're 10-3. And they're not even full 10 or 11-3. They haven't even fully started like game to game clicking offensively. And when that happens, and hopefully that happens to close out the season, they're going to be a problem for anybody in the AFC come playoff time.
No, they're making the case to be the very best team in football. And right now we're looking at what is that 2000? What year was that when the Ravens and the 49ers met in the Super Bowl? It's looking like we're on a collision course for that again, right? We're talking about two teams playing high level football. That's exactly what we're looking at. But DP, man, talking about a collision course.
Fact, they play in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, they play. Yeah, they play.
Ravens travel to San Fran.
That may
if I
be
remember correctly.
That may be a Super Bowl preview. We don't know. But DP talking about a collision course, man. We are on a collision course head on with this NFL draft conversation, man. Bringing you championship level content surrounding the NFL draft 24/7, 365, man. I am Keith Sanchez, man. You can find me on X at the Talent Code. That is DP. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL, man. Like we always like to say, man, y'all talk to us because we like to talk back, man. This draft conversation is starting to heat up, man. We have some good takes. Y'all come talk to us.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. On tomorrow's show, we're getting into some Atlanta Falcons, guys. We're going to talk some Falcons. What are they in no man's land for a second straight season? They won't be able to find or draft a quarterback. We'll talk about that and potential quarterback options for them in the 2024 NFL Draft. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.